This episode of The Young Turks is brought to you by Gamefly. Go to gamefly.com/TYT for a free trial membership. So recently, they featured a couple by the name of Carol Ann Riddell and John Partilla. Okay. So the interesting part of their story is they were both married when they first met one another. In fact, their families would go on vacation together, right? They became very good friends, platonic originally, right? And, you know, they both started realizing that they had feelings for one another. So I want to read you part of the article. It said,
hot feeling.
It says, in May 2008, Mr. Partilla invited her for a drink at O'Connell's, a neighborhood bar. She said she knew something was up because they had never met on their own before. So he tells her, "I've fallen in love with you," he recalled saying to her. She jumped up, knocking a glass of beer into his lap, and rushed out the door. 5 minutes later, he said, she turned and told him, "I feel exactly the same way." And she left again. Okay, so
what is this, a movie?
But
they're telling this story like, hey, isn't this an amazing love story?
Right. They are.
But meanwhile, people are like, wait a minute, you're married to other people. What the hell kind of hosebags are you?
So what ends up happening is they both decide, look, let's not have, an extramarital affair. Why don't we both tell our spouses that we want to break up, and then, we'll get back together and we'll do the dirty.
I'm sure that's exactly how it broke down.
That's what they claim. That's what they claim, right? So the New York Times is writing about them, and, they're talking about how romantic and wonderful it is that now they're married and they found love. And people are upset. People are saying, why are they showcasing this terrible thing that they did to their families? This is horrible, right? And people are judging them, giving them an extremely hard time.
Yeah, and so what's pissing people off is they're bragging about it. And there's like all these people, blogs, and then commenters on the New York Times website, they're like, you home wreckers? Who do you like? All like gloating like, oh, then we fell in love. And while my wife was at home taking care of the kids, I was spilling beers with this chick, and God, I was really hot for her. You're like, that ain't right, man. This ain't nothing to brag about.
Yeah.
And I have tremendous sympathy for the criticism. Not for them, but for the critics. Yeah, of course.
No, I agree.
They were, look, if you're going to do this thing and you're going to do the nasty and like hose over your wife and your thing, at least have the decency not to brag about it in public.
Yes, I agree. However, I will say this. Some of the criticism goes a little too far.
Of course! It's online. Of course it's going to go too far.
Like, for instance, radio host John Moe tweeted that it was the saddest story in the New York Times that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there were sadder stories in the New York Times.
Trust me. Go look at the story of the woman from Bangladesh getting caned. Okay, that's a sad story. This is just a bunch of clowns having too good a time. See, what's amazing is that it's their vanity, right?
They
couldn't help it. They wanted to get in the New York Times so bad, even though they were being, as Ben's new word, jackbags about it. Right? Okay? But they're like, oh no, but I gotta be in the New York Times wedding section. By the way, since then, the bride says, yeah, damn straight. No, I'm proud of that story. And I think part of the reason, there's some small chance they actually did not cheat on their spouses. That's why they wrote this, because they're so proud. They're like, look, we didn't even cheat. We dumped their ass first, right?
Which is a little admirable.
I guess.
A
little. I see why.
Tiny.
No, I see why. I'm not an unreasonable man. I'm the most open-minded man in America. Okay? The groom, he's like, yeah. Disaster. He's like, we probably shouldn't have done it.
Oh, so he
he's like, oh, yeah, my bad.
Yeah. You know why? Because another thing that people never take into account, and I know I say this all the time in a joking way, but I'm being serious this time. Like, what about your kids? One day
What about you?
One day your kids are going to read that article and they're going to be like, Mom, you whore.
Oh, damn, I don't know if I'd have gone that far.
Cenk, people don't know this about me, but I'm an underground gamer. I love to play video games.
Well, then you're going to love our new sponsor, Gamefly. They're the largest online video game rental service in the world. 7,000 titles, new and classic. Also, no late fees, no due dates. Shipping's always free.
Go to gamefly.com/TYT for a free trial membership.